let's crochet and sew some holiday decorations today. We're gonna both machine sew and hand sew. You could probably get away with just hand sewing, but I have a machine and that makes it easier, so I'm gonna use it. I'm not usually the biggest like holiday decoration person. In my adult life, I've always lived in apartments, so you know, space. But also, I'm a big like stuff person. I like knickknacks. I like having stuff on my shelves. So for me, a lot of times it comes down to, I don't really care to rearrange my stuff or move stuff around in order to be able to like put up decorations. And I think part of that too is that, like, I just don't really like store buying decorations that much, because as somebody who's like crafty in a lot of ways, I would rather just make it. Like, I get really excited by making things, and like I really like using and displaying the things that I do make. I just don't get around to making holiday stuff that much because I am a procrastinator, and I will usually end up like missing the actual season to make things even if I have ideas. But not this year. We're going for it. So overall, I'm partaking this year. I'm gonna decorate for the holidays. I'm gonna make some holiday decor, because why should I buy anything when I have the amount of craft supplies that I have? It's too much, and it's probably good for me to start using it more. Let's talk about the plan. I would like to, if possible, get everything done between today and tomorrow. Let's talk about the ideas, the projects. What are we doing? So I'll preface it by saying I'm not getting a Christmas tree. No, that's not in the cards for me this year. But I have an idea that feels like a really good substitute for me and my space and what I want to do. I'm gonna do a crochet tapestry of a Christmas tree, which I think is so fun, because since it's crochet, I could stick ornaments in between the stitches. So like have this hanging up on a wall. I think that's brilliant, and I just like thought of that by myself, and I'm so proud of that. Maybe a little bit too proud, but that's fine. So that's the project that I think is gonna definitely not get done today. I'm starting it today as the plan, but you know, I want it to be relatively big. I think I have it set right now. I'll show the picture of my drawing for it, but I think it's like 90 by 120. So I think that should be a decent size. I don't really know. I don't know my crochet that well yet, so like I'm kind of just hoping, but I think it's such a fun idea. So crochet Christmas tree tapestry. Okay, and then along with that, of course I'm gonna make ornaments. It's not gonna be a Christmas tree size thing, so I'm not gonna be using like normal ornaments. But I remembered I have supplies to do like wire wrapping with like beads. I think I have green beads and gold wire, which like I feel like goes really nicely. So I think I'm gonna try to do some wire wrapping to make like little ornaments. I'm really excited about both of those. I'm nervous about the wire wrapping though. I have no idea how that works. I want to like hand sew some ornaments, and I've seen a lot of this on like TikTok and Pinterest lately. So idea for this is gonna be like fun fabrics, like relatively simple shapes, and like hang them up in the window. I also want to make some bow garlands. I feel like that's huge, like that's so in right now. I think I'm gonna do it with flannel like shirts that I got from the thrift store. That's the one I'm gonna machine sew, but I do think it'd be like easy enough to also hand sew it. The final one I want to do is just like kind of a fun one, and so as a One Piece fan, of course, I spend a lot of time thinking about One Piece, and I think this is a brilliant idea. I think this is so fun. I want to make a felt wall hanging of Chopper, Tony Chopper. And I want to do it in a way that I could change out his hats. So for like the holidays, I'll give him a Santa hat. But I think that's so fun, and I think that'll be so cute. Those are all of my ideas. So we should probably get started, because it's gonna be a full weekend, baby. So let's go. First project is gonna be bow garland. I have these two flannel fabrics. So we're gonna use these as the fabric for the bows. Scissors, obviously important. I have my sewing machine here, and what I'm gonna do with this is I'm basically just gonna cut strips out of these fabrics, fold them in half, sew them, turn them inside out, iron, and then turn them into bows. So I wrote out the steps for this whole project, but I figured I would also jump in with a voiceover to explain some stuff. So here I'm just cutting the fabric into strips. The length and the width that you make them obviously depends on what your bows will look like. I didn't necessarily want mine to be super perfect and like exact, so I did them at different lengths and widths so that they'd vary a little bit. So once they're cut out, we folded them in half and we're sewing the long end shut. I sewed this in half, so I'm going to take a safety pin, clip it on the end, and like feed it through. Yep, so turning this inside out so that the seam is hidden. Pretty simple, pretty average. I'm going to iron this really quick so it sits flat. And so now that I have my little strip, I'm just going to fold the ends in, give them a quick hem. And so basically after this step, we should just have a closed tube. And now that this is ready, so now we're folding it into the bow, and you can kind of see what I'm doing there, just kind of folding it in two spots so it makes, I don't even know what shape that is, but I drew it out for you. And from there, you just kind of sew it closed and cover that up. And I just did that by hand sewing. And to assemble them, I just put them together and sewed maybe halfway down the bow so that they weren't fully attached down the whole edge, but just a little bit so that they'd hold it but can still make a nice swooping shape, if that makes sense. But I think that turned out really cute. The next project that we're going to work on is the little hanging ornaments that I'm going to make. Supplies for this, I have this fabric, scissors to cut stuff out, my little like hand embroidery kit, so like needles, thread. I guess I'll use some tailor's chalk to like draw out the shapes. Yeah. Oh, and I need stuffing. How I'm doing this is just drawing out the shape on whatever part of the fabric I wanted. Since there's a print on mine, I chose a dog here. For the first one, I just did a circle. So I drew it, cut it out. See the dog, so cute. And then I just placed that on top of another part of the fabric that I wanted and cut around it to match it. And the other side's the cat there. And so once I had the two pieces cut out matching, I just used my needle and thread to start sewing them together. And throughout these, I made 4 different ornaments. I used 2 different stitches. So this is a blanket stitch. And you can kind of see how I'm doing it there. There's also the diagram to help you out. The other one that I did for a few of the other ones was just a running stitch. I do think the blanket stitch is a little bit nicer and looks more finished, but ultimately these are kind of meant to look homemade, so I think they turned out cute either way. And so once I was almost done sewing it shut, I added the stuffing and then closed it up the rest of the way. And so here you see the second one I'm working on. I did an A for Allie, shocker. But so this one I did the running stitch, which is just like your average basic embroidery stitch. And same thing, so once it was almost fully closed up with, including the middle part, I had to close that up too. I put some stuffing in it and finished her up. This one was a little bit more difficult and a little odd looking, but that's it. And so along with those two, I made one that was just like a weird ornament shape. I don't know about it. And another one that was a bee for my boyfriend, Benjamin. Let's make Chopper. And for this, this is all the stiff felt that I have. I have a lot of colors. We're gonna use that. We're gonna use something to mark down my lines and scissors and glue. These are gonna be the base colors. This is like for his head. Antlers, which I think I'm also going to make removable since they're on the outside of the hats. I'll like make them so I can stick them onto the hats. Details, and his nose, which I just realized is blue for the first time. And I have these set aside. I'm going to make his post time skip hat out of these. I have this for a Santa, like a Christmas hat. The way I went about making Chopper was honestly pretty simple, and I think it would kind of work for any type of felt cutout project you might be making. But I basically just took a piece of paper, and I used 2 pieces because I want it to be a little bigger than just 1 piece of paper. So I took the 2 pieces of paper and drew out Chopper from a reference photo. And from there, once I was happy with how he looked, I just started cutting out individual pieces that would be in different colors so that I could use them to trace them onto the felt and then cut them out. And so once I had the individual pieces cut out, I used a paint pen also to kind of outline them to give them that more cartoony look because he's an anime character. So once I had them all cut out and outlined, I did that at various points, but to glue them together, I used a hot glue gun, which was honestly super easy. We have Chopper. We have one of Chopper's hats. We have Christmas hat, and we have antlers. I was at first going to use paper clips to glue on the back of everything to attach them, but I couldn't find any paper clips. So I actually used these sewing clips that I had laying around, and I think you could kind of use anything, right? Any clip type thing. I put one on the back of each antler, two on the back of each hat, measured it out to where they'll be able to reach the head, so the hat is where I want it. And ultimately, this was a super quick, super easy project, but this was so fun. I feel like this is something that I wouldn't normally do, because it's kind of like a random one-off thing, but I love it, and I'm so excited to make him more hats. If there are any other hats you want to see me make for Chopper, let me know, because I loved making this. I thought this was so fun, and I would totally make him more because he could just stay up year round and we could change him into different hats. It's perfect. So we're gonna start the tapestry. This is the drawing. So white for the background, reds for this border thing, greens for the tree, yellow for the star. And I'm gonna try to do, I think, what's considered intarsia crochet, where I'll have like separate bits of yarn for each piece of this so I'm not carrying it, but we'll see how it goes. So I'll start this off by saying I'm relatively new to crochet in general, but I'm loving tapestry crochet. It scratches an itch in my brain. I love it so much. And so I think what it's called is intarsia crochet. And what I'm doing here is creating the bobbins. And so on the picture on the screen, you could see, to start off, I'm going to have 3 separate bobbins of white and 2 of red, so that I'm not carrying the red from one side to the next. And so that's how I did most of this. The only one that I did kind of carry under was the dark green and the light green, because the dark green was more of an outline than like chunks of it, so it would have been kind of difficult for me to theorize how to have, like, how many bobbins to have, how to do that. But ultimately, this did work out, and it ended up being pretty clean. So it was kind of, I guess, a mix of ways to do, like, tapestry crochet, but it all worked out in the end. So it is now Sunday evening, and I have greatly underestimated the amount of time my tapestry is going to take me to make. I actually went out, I drove about an hour to visit a friend of mine, and we had a little crochet date, so I got more of the tapestry done, but not that much more. It's super cute. I'm really excited about it, honestly. Like, I think this is turning out so good. However, I will not be finishing it today. I have probably close to 100 rows to go still. So this is gonna continue to be my while I'm watching TV and stuff project. And now we're just going to see a little montage of me working on this. Ultimately, this project took me, I think, about 2 weeks, because I was working on it when I went home for Thanksgiving and while I was at a craft market and kind of here, there, and everywhere, which honestly, for the amount of yarn that I was using in this project, I don't know how I carried it around with me so much. It was such a mess. But ultimately, yeah, I think it was about 2 weeks to finish. I'm not going to get into exactly how to do this in this video. I know the other ones I gave you kind of steps and how it works. This is a little bit more complicated and can kind of be a video on its own. If you want me to talk about how I approach these projects and how I go about doing like tapestry crochet, definitely let me know, because I have a lot of similar projects planned for the future and would be happy to kind of walk through it. Like I said, I think it was about 2 weeks to finish this, and in the end I did run into a few snags with kind of actually finishing it, because I had these stick things. I don't know why I can't think of the word for them right now, but I had a pack of them and I was like, oh great, perfect. Realized they were about half the size that I would need them to be, but I thought that I could glue them together and have it be okay, which it worked to an extent. I glued them together and I wrapped some fabric around it thinking it would make it a little bit more stable. Not really. So actually, I was going to order a new one, a dowel rod, that's what it's called. I was going to order a bigger one. So what I did instead was I kind of added center supports to it for when it's hanging, and that wasn't quite enough to stop it from collapsing in the center there. So what I did was I just took that like wall safe putty and stuck the sides down with it so that they're like against the wall, keeping it straight. So there's the little chain that's like holding it up, the two center supports of yarn, and then putty on the ends holding it in place. Which, you know, kind of a little bit of a mess, but honestly, it's fine. It works. We did the best with what we had. I did also try to do a little wire wrapping to make ornaments for the tree, and it was a little bit of a fail. I'll show you some clips, but they kind of didn't amount to much. I do want to kind of try this in a more serious way, but I was just winging it here. So I put them up and they're fine. I actually posted a short about this and a bunch of people had really good ideas. People said I could use dangly earrings or even stitch markers, which I don't own, but I definitely should at this point, as ornaments. So I love those. But yeah, if you have any wire wrapping tips, let me know because clearly I need them. This was an attempt. So thank you for watching. I had a lot of fun making these and editing this video. I did not put up the hand-sewn ornaments, unfortunately. That was just me being lazy. But I hope you enjoyed and let me know below what decorations have you made this year.